I'd like to introduce George Wyatt, better known as King George, and Tim Saylor, known as Ringy or the Ringmaster. Can't imagine where you got a name like that.
I don't know.
We appreciate y'all taking your time from y'all's busy schedule and coming to our meeting. KG and Ringy ran the show Diggers on the National Geographic Channel for 4 years. They currently host Digging with KG and Ringy, which is available on YouTube. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks.
Okay, first let me start off this thing right, and ask how y'all got your nicknames. Now I can't imagine where the Ringmaster got his nickname, but was there a specific incident that prompted it?
Well, it wasn't really a specific incident, but it was a bunch of things that happened when KG and I and T.O. and KG's brother Bones, we all used to hunt together. And every time we'd hunt a yard or a field or an old foundation, if there was a ring in the field, I found it. And I don't know why. I have no explanation for it. And one day KG was just like, you find rings. And he started swearing at me and stuff. And then out just came the Ringmaster. You're the Ringmaster, and it just stuck. I don't know. That was it.
That's good.
So.
Well, how'd you get to be King George?
Well, it wasn't an ego thing. When we first went, we got our metal detecting, Tim and I, and we hung out with like my brother Bones and Travis Johnson, T.O. And not everywhere we went, but I seemed to find these silver dollars. I had like 5 silver dollars before anybody in the group had any silver dollars. And then Tim and my brother and that, they're like, man, you're like the king of silver. You're like the king of silver dollars. We're just going to start calling you King George. And that just kind of stuck. And then when we got our show, they wanted us to use all of our names too. So King George stuck still today. I guess now it's Cage. I got all kinds of nicknames for my nickname now.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories is the only silver dollar I ever found, I found underneath a swing set. So
yeah,
I guess I don't get to hunt as good as sights.
Chris, I would just like to know where the name Weasel comes in.
Oh, great. There they are.
You're welcome.
There they are. Hey, I'm going to stop by and do some mule deer hunting down there on my way to Montana. So get one of them big mule deers tied up for me, guys.
You're always welcome.
A couple of Colorado's finest right there.
Do that again. Weasel. Oh, wait. How did we get up?
Tell us about Weasel.
What about
all right.
Weasel?
My brother and all my
you.
friends, they say, no matter what happens, I always end up smelling like a rose. And so my brother and that, they say, you're the weasel. You're always weaseling into things. So I guess they call me Weasel all the time now. You weren't supposed to hear that one there, Boots.
Thank you, Boots. Good lick. We like that.
Yeah, that's good.
How long have y'all been in metal detecting?
Oh man, I guess I think it was the 80s when I first got mine, but I only really used it like for a couple of months for a summer, and then after that I started playing guitar, and I was playing in bands with my brother for years and years, and I never really touched it again until I moved to Montana, and I lived there for 15 years, and that's where I met KG. But when I moved to Montana, I grabbed my detector out from under the bed when I was moving it. I noticed it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to check this new house I'm moving into, because it was built in like 1920. And I found 3 silver dimes back there, and I thought, oh, man, I need to get into this. So that's really when it started. It kicked off, and KG and I bought a couple of GTI 2500s, and then it just snowballed into insanity,
The insanity still goes on.
What kind of machines do you currently use?
I fell in love with the new Apex. I mean, I never really had a chance to really learn it that good, because it's so hard to put down my AT Max to learn a new machine, because I know that thing like the back of my hand. Like, I'll get a hit on that and everybody like, oh, what number was that? And I'll say, I don't know. I just knew from the sound I was going to dig it. but we
Right.
use that. We've been using that Apex, and I mean, the way we've been setting it up, and we got a couple of brand new coils on it. We've been testing out and stuff, and that thing is really a good machine. I'm not just saying that, because of Garrett, but I mean, I've learned to love that machine. I mean, it's not like there's a big issue about being waterproof and stuff. And we hunted, pound the ground, not pound the ground. What was that, Tim? We were just at
Bone, best of the Northeast.
the bone, yeah. And we hunted in the rain for 3 days, and we never had it covered, and it worked out fine. But that's basically the two I use.
Yeah, and it's obviously the same for me. And of course, George likes the Apex now because he just found an 1802 2 Real with it. So
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that was cool.
That is cool. Nothing wrong with that. Well, what's your best find ever?
Geez, there in the US, it was definitely my CS belt plate.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I found that in Kentucky on the Diggers show. I can't remember what season. But that was always what I thought was my best find. And then about a year ago in England, I found a piece that's in the museum over there. It's a solid gold mourning ring, and it was dated 1744, and they traced it to a really famous family. And so we have it over there in a museum. I lent it to them for a while. And if you want to see the whole show and the history about it, you can just go to diggintv.com and watch that episode. It's called The Golden Ring. So
I did watch that episode. How much did they evaluate that thing at?
I don't know that it's worth that much money, several $1,000s, but it's not like it's worth $1 million or anything. But I think it's just the historical value is kind of cool to be able to trace it to the exact family. And, the lady's grandson fought Napoleon, and there's paintings of him and stuff. So it's just kind of cool.
I was going to suggest if that wasn't your best find, I'd like to know what your best find was.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, Tim found a papabola from the Pope of, what was that, Pope of too, and it's in a museum in England too.
Yeah, Pope Pius II. It was a seal off of a document from Rome, and yeah, that was a heck of a find. I found a 900 BC Bronze Age axe head over there.
Nice.
KG found a silver coin from how far BC?
150 BC.
Yeah. And then the spring before I found that ring, I found a 50 BC gold coin over in England. So I was pretty pumped about that too.
Yeah, I mean, that Europe stuff, it's always old over there. They laugh at us when we get excited when we find a 1700s coin. They will literally take handfuls of coins from the 1700s to modern day, and we've seen people throw handfuls of them in the ditch, and we would be crawling around in the ditch trying to pick them up, and they're like, that stuff ain't even old. That's not even old. What do you guys want that for? We're here for Roman and stuff. And I'm like, well, you guys are nuts.
See, I've detected in England too. I've been for 5 years. I didn't get to go this year because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Same thing. The greenies, they just throw them in the ditch. They don't even care about them.
Yeah.
So much history over there. It's pretty neat.
Right. I mean,
King?
oh man, golly. I mean, we have so many cool finds on the TV show. Like, I mean, when we got to go after pieces of the atomic bomb that fell in Florence, South Carolina, literally, and like it was 1958, I believe, during the Cold War, we accidentally dropped the bomb on ourselves, but it didn't have the nuclear warhead on it, luckily, or we wouldn't have North Carolina right now. We just have another part of the ocean. But we got to go in there. Well, the Army came in and cleaned everything up. But we were going to film a show there on I believe it was a Revolutionary War or something. I can't remember. And we had word about this atomic bomb where this farmer used to find chunks out in his field. And we thought, well, the producer said, go out and see if you can find some of these pieces of this atomic bomb, and then if you can find a couple little pieces, even if we can speculate that it might be from that bomb, we can kind of weave it into the show, and make a little piece about it. So they didn't send any cameras with us or nothing. And Tim and I went out into the field, and within 15 minutes, we were pulling out massive chunks of this atomic bomb. We probably ended up with 150 pieces of this atomic bomb. And I actually found one of the hooks that was on the bottom of this atomic bomb. Yeah,
When you got back to the hotel room, did you glow?
well, I started to lick it because I thought maybe my hair would grow back, but my mouth swelled up and I couldn't talk for a week, but that's all right.
That was the best week of my life.
Yeah. I mean, just a lot. I mean, we found like jewelry, a lot of rings. Man, I mean, just the weird things are cool to me. Tim's a coin guy. I kind of like the weird stuff. Like I found a solid St. Christopher statue one time in a time capsule about that big. I pried the lid off of it's a little capsule. I pried the lid off it and I shook out this perfect sterling silver St. Christopher medal. It was solid. It was stuff like that. Really, I really like.
Yeah. That sounds like pretty good finds to me. Well, how did you get into this video, television, National Geographic business?
Well,
Go ahead, Tim. You kind of talk a lot, so
yeah, all right, I'll take it. Well, when George and I met, we started, this was back before the big YouTube craze and everybody in the world has a channel and stuff like that. And we couldn't really find much on metal detecting, like the real stuff. So we just made these videos. We decided to invest in a little camera and stuff, and we started making these videos called Extreme Metal Detecting, and they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we started selling them on Amazon and eBay and stuff. And somebody somewhere out on the East Coast noticed us and called us one day. I was just at work, and they called me and they said, yeah, we'd like to make a television show out of you guys. And of course, I didn't believe her at all because I thought George was just setting me up and had some girl call me. So it took 5 minutes before the poor woman would convince me that it was a real phone call, and after that, we ended up shooting the pilots and they took off, and we didn't think anything was going to happen. We thought we'd go right back to work, and the pilots were successful. And then the first season was so successful, they wanted to sign us right away. And so we ended up never, ever going back to work.
Nice.
Yeah. And most of our finds, I know there was a question about that. Probably 90% of the stuff we found on the show, since where we were so historical, they would go to museums or they'd go to archives or something like that. Every once in a while we'd get to a place we'd find so much stuff that the landowner would say, hey, you guys, if you guys want a few things off the table, go ahead and take them. I mean, so we got a little bit of stuff, but normally when we were filming, everything went into museums.
That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. So basically you're just doing a geared down version on your YouTube thing now? You're putting these on, doing shows, going around the country?
Well, the Digger show, all 4 seasons, I think there were 60 some shows that aired on National Geographic. Right. And those were all filmed in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that and the US Virgin Islands. But the new show, Digging with KG and Ringy, there's over 20 shows, and they're all out there at diggintv.com, and they're all over the world. Moscow, England, all over, France, Germany.
Come on, you could do better.
That's all I
can
can think of.
Germany, France, the Netherlands, England, like a bunch in England, huh? Russia.
Yeah, Russia.
Australia.
Russia outlawed metal detecting.
Russia?
Mm-hmm.
No, they've got clubs and all kinds of stuff going on over there.
I thought that they'd shut them down.
Oh, maybe
well,
they
not
did.
That we know of. We were supposed to go back this year, but with this COVID, we got shut out. But yeah. I know some of the places we went, the hosts that had us there, they had to go get permission from the historical societies and whatnot. before we could go onto the sites. And I know they all had written permission, and we had an actual archaeologist from Russia that went everywhere we went.
Nice.
Yeah. And then this weird guy that must be working for the KGB. Everywhere we went, he would be leaning up against the car, smoking a cigarette, staring at us. Remember that, Tim? Like,
Yeah.
we would leave an hour before this guy, and wherever we went, he would be there before us. And we're like, how does he do that? He just magically appears. You don't say 2 words, but he smokes a cigarette and just stares at you. Tim tried to talk to him once, and I think he grunted at him.
I don't even know if he did that. He just looked right through me like I wasn't there, and I just kind of got spooked and walked away.
Was it a little unnerving going to Russia to go detect?
Well,
The first time it was, the very first time it was a little weird. In fact, I was afraid to go to Germany the first time, and that ended up being one of the coolest spots. But Russia was a little weird, because, if something happens over there, you're not going to rent a car and drive home or jump on a boat and go home. You're not going to like life, I'm sure.
Wonderful. Can you think of any particular adventures or trips that you'd like to comment on?
I mean, we've got so many crazy, weird stories about missing planes and all kinds of weird things that have happened to us. But I just happened to think of this one just because we were talking about Russia. I just remember that first time we went over, and because very few people speak English over there, when you go to Germany or something, you can always find somebody that speaks English. But when you go to there's just isn't anybody that speaks English. And so I'm in the airport trying to get through with my passport, and there's this lady in a uniform straight out of a James Bond movie, a large woman in a Russian thing, and she's yelling at me, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And and finally she just physically moved me into the correct line because I wasn't in the right line, just out of frustration.
That was the girls' bathroom.
Did you get a date?
Hey,
Yeah.
Chris, there's actually a couple of questions in the chat area. And one of them is from Ron and Linda Erickson. They're asking, what do you do with all your finds?
We usually just put them in a big pile and melt them down and sell them to the metal shops.
No. Obviously he's joking. He makes me nervous when he does this stuff. No, most of the stuff is, like I say, goes into historical societies or the museums. And if we're out on our own, the landowner has final say. Sometimes we'll work it out with them, and we'll, if they have something that they may have lost out there, like a wedding ring or something cool, or anything that has to do with the direct family, they always get it, but most of the people, they don't even care. Like if it's wheat pennies and a couple silver coins, normally they don't care. So, but when we're filming, like I said before, probably 90% or more, it stays where we're at. Like we did the Hatfield and McCoy site. We found Randall McCoy's home site. Oh, my phone fell over. We found Randall McCoy's home site, and we had the only known artifacts from the Hatfield and McCoy feud. In fact, they're in Mingo County, in the Chamber of Commerce building, because they're so historical. And that county is really poor. I mean, they had a lot of hardships with mining and stuff. And since we did all that, it's generated millions of dollars of revenue from tourists coming from all over the world to see them artifacts and stuff. So I mean, we have a lot of stuff like that we've done.
All right. One other question that somebody asked was, what did y'all consider your most historical site that y'all been to?
Wow.
Tim?
Covers them all.
Most
Yeah, I mean, we did like that was one of the most historical sites, that, and we did, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We did a Bonnie and Clyde shootout site where we found a bunch of stuff. I mean, they're just, we found Steve Jobs' time capsule, and that had the original Lisa mouse that he actually used at the International Design Conference in Aspen, Colorado. And we ended up on Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, the Bloomberg Report. We had to fly up there and do all that. But when we found the time capsule and they cut it open, it was just jam packed. It was like 30 feet. I think it was a 4-foot tube packed in there. I mean, there was everybody at the design conference put something in this time capsule and then they buried it. And then they were supposed to dig it up after 20 years. Well, 20 years came and went, and then Steve Jobs passed away, and it built up a big, to do about Steve Jobs. So we ended up going out there and we ended up finding the time capsule and we dug it up and cut it out. But the mouse in it that he actually used during the conference, I mean, that's probably worth $1 million or more. But there was blueprints for famous buildings, all over the world. There was a original script from Hill Street Blues in there. Well, there was bras and panties and all kinds of stuff like that in there too, But I mean, there are just so many historical things. It's just hard to tack one thing.
I don't seem to remember those 2 articles that you mentioned of clothing making it on TV.
Somehow they just didn't make it on TV.
Didn't make it through the editing.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah. That's no fun.
And then
Tim,
I think
Tim has them.
Yeah. On.
Did they fit, George?
Well, they're a little snug now. I grew a little.
Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask?
There's
Ringmaster.
So there's a few of them on the chat area, and then I see Joanne she's raising her hand.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah. Where was the Bonnie and Clyde shootout that you found stuff?
Where was that, Cage? Was that in Iowa? It was in Iowa.
Yeah, it was in Iowa. Because then we went to
John Wayne's birthplace.
John Wayne's birthplace too. Yeah. Yeah, wow. It was in Iowa. I can't remember where. It was some farm field in Iowa where they had camped, and then the town and the sheriff, they realized that Bonnie and Clyde were hid out camping in this camping spot. So they kind of surrounded them with guns, and when they came up over the hill, they had a big shootout. And I think Bonnie actually got hit, or somebody ended up getting killed there and stuff. But we went out there. We found a lot of casings, and I mean, a lot of them were right in the date period where it would have happened. So I'm sure they're from that shootout.
Wow.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I say, Ken, why don't you do your question quick?
Oh, hey, sorry about that. Who sets up these hunts for you guys? Who gets all these permissions? You guys have producers that are out there that are trying to locate these places for you to hunt?
Yeah. National Geographic had a whole team that did pre-production work, and it would be months worth of research, and they'd have everything signed and all the papers in order before we ever showed up. And they'd have multiple sites for us to hunt, so that if we showed up somewhere and we found 2 wheat pennies and couldn't make a TV show out of it because, it had been, dug up and resurfaced or whatever the reason was, we'd have plenty to hop to keep going. And then it was just all stuff they set up. And then after we would hunt for a week, then all the post-production stuff would come into play. And then overseas, we're obviously on the Garrett team, and they help set us up with all our stuff overseas too. And so we've got people all over the world that help us get these permissions, which is really nice for us, because who wouldn't want somebody to set up a permission for them, right?
Pretty amazing. I'll tell you, pretty amazing.
Yeah, we've been lucky. We know that. I could have used a different partner, but you get what you can get.
Cindy, not a question. Cindy, still with us? Anyway, she says, who would you guys want to hunt with or meet in the detecting world?
I don't know. I kind of like Jeff Lubert. I'm kind of a
We've
fan
already
of
detected together a couple times.
Yeah, I think you said something bad to us at a DIV one time.
The funny thing is I just told my dad that story about us in the fog hunting at the DIV, and Jeff walked all the way up the hill, and right when he got there, we just turned and walked away from him in different directions.
Yeah, but we turned right back around, Jeff. We just, he said, darn you guys, or something like that. I can't remember.
He said, oh, yeah. Shucks, you guys are such kidders.
Yeah. I mean, we have detected with some of the best people in the, in the world. Not that they're great at metal detecting, but I mean, Butch Holcomb, and I mean, all the people that we have met on our journeys, it's just unbelievable. I mean, usually,
think about people like Gary. He's found 5 or I don't know how many hordes of Roman coins. And then we dove with Steve Zazulik up in Canada. He's a great dive detectorist. So, we've learned from a lot of people that are really, really good at what they're doing.
Yeah. Some of my favorite things to do is like I get invited every once in a while to these little club meetings around where I live. And it's kind of funny when I'll show up and only a couple people knew I'd be there, and just the kind of the reaction of everybody, but just the regular people that go out there and they go metal detecting on the weekends or any times that they can. I mean, sometimes those are the people that, it's just a joy to hunt with a lot of people like that too. They're just down to earth, happy people. And that's what we try to be all the time.
All right. We have one last question here. It says, what was the best thing y'all found in Germany?
Ringy found an incendiary bomb.
Yeah, I did. I found one of those things that was dropped by the English in World War II, and it had obviously split open, but I dug it up and I'm like, KG, what do you think this is? We thought it was like a sprinkler head. So I think we're lucky to still be alive.
Yeah. I mean, we found a lot of stuff. We got to go to this actual coal mine in Germany. Well, we went to Cologne, Germany, but we went to this old coal mine, and there are so many layers of history at this coal mine. This coal mine's a strip mine, so they don't dig under the artifacts. Everything is gone. In fact, they were buying up entire towns that, dated back to Roman age, and then they would just strip mine it, because that's where all the money is, and they got to make money to feed their families and stuff. But we got to go into this ancient town and metal detect before the bulldozers came. And so we got to go in there, but we were hunting literally 3 feet from the edge of these, 60-foot drop-offs where these big machines would come in and strip the dirt away. And we were finding Roman stuff, medieval stuff, World War II stuff, and modern stuff, all with, all in the exact same area. I found a whole bunch of Germany things. I found this old thing in Germany that said Day of Work, and it had a guy's head on it, and it, had the swastika on it. It said Day of Work, but Tim speaks German, so he told me that's what it said. It probably said something else.
It did. It said Tag der Arbeit, Day of Work. It's like Labor Day for Germany or whatever. But yeah, that was a great hunt, Cage. Anyway, I was going to say about that, KG found that really cool badge or pin or whatever it was. It was in like a churchyard, and that if you go online, I don't know whose YouTube video it is, but after we had left, it shows the actual destruction of the entire church, and the church then and the whole land and the entire town is completely gone because that was part of what they were taking to mine,
Mm-hmm.
But it was just kind of interesting to see that we got to save a few last things from that area before it disappeared.
Well, sounds like y'all had some tremendous adventures and got many more planned. If you need any help, be sure to just give me a call.
Okay.
We're going to move along with the meeting, I think. We appreciate you all. Don't have to sit here and listen to the whole thing. You are more than welcome if you'd like, but we're not going to hold it against you if you decide to go to bed because it's a lot later over there.
Yeah, I gotta leave at 2:30 in the morning to go catch a plane in Kansas City, so I'll probably jump off. But I know Jeff's been trying to get me out here for a while, and I apologize to him for not getting on here sooner. But
Well, especially it's nice with this Zoom thing because you don't have to leave home. You just get on the computer and you're right there.
I'll send Jeff some pictures of what a mule deer and an elk look like in the back of a truck.
Well, hey, KG Ringy, thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate all your time.
Yes, thank
And you know what? Hey, if you make it back out to Colorado sometime, look me up, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with Boots and them. They're gonna take me deer hunting, I guess.
There we go.
No. You said
Yeah.
you wanted to hunt with Jeff Luber.
I want you to hunt with me. I'll show you where the mule deer are.
Jeff only saw 4 tracks in 2 weeks, so I think I'll go with boots in them. And I see all the deer behind them, so we'll go there.
Yep,
They have a hot
there
tub
they
and a
are.
lot of beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah,
Come over to
right
my
there.
house and shoot a mule deer off the porch. It's easier that way.
I like that. Yeah. Well, thank
Oh,
you
there's
guys.
more. There's more.
Oh,
Y'all be
yeah.
careful.
Thanks for coming along,
Thank
guys.
you all.
All right.
Right.
Thanks.
Take
Thanks a lot.
care.
Thanks.
All right.
Go. All right.